Not bulletproof vehicles. I'm talking of head of government.
Is your grouse at the fact that the cars are bulletproof? I want to understand. Or
My grouse is very simple. That public funds must be spent within stipulated laws and values, to start with. Like I was saying, there's a convention in this country, and there are precedences. When Sunday Afolabi, the former Minister of Internal Affairs, Obasanjo Senior in Baptist High School in Abeokuta, the man who nominated Obasanjo to be president, had problems with the national identity card scam. He was removed as minister immediately.
But he was directly supervising that.
I'm coming. This national identity card is also a parastatal under his ministry.
But he was directly supervising that particular project.
The minister is directly supervising the NCAA,
but not
FAN, and any other parastatal under it.
It's true, but the
minister also is the one to make recommendations for the appointment of a DG.
I have no ground.
Because I'm surprised you are trying to make...
my point is,
yeah.
Is she aware of these cars that were bought? Because the press statements we've gotten so far...
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound vulgar. It is always conception. Ejaculation before conception. You cannot begin to talk about any parastatal or department under a particular ministry and isolate the ministry, the minister. It's not done anywhere. And I have other examples for you. Professor Fabian Osuji was Minister of Education in the Obasanjo's government. Immediately that scandal broke out, he was removed as minister. Even most recently, during the time of President Umar Yar'Adua of blessed memory, the Minister of Health and Minister of State for Health, Professor Grange and Architect Gabriel Aduku, were accused of a particular corruption saga. Immediately, the team broke out. Yar'Adua removed them as ministers. Eventually, they were exonerated by the courts.
I'm going to move on to
tell you that
now.
They were removed even before investigation commences.
It's interesting to bring up all of these examples because all of these examples involve direct contact with either bribe or money. But we're going to move on now.
Yeah.
Inflation
has been established.
Why are you still...
Inflation of that contract has been established because the world is a global village. As you are sitting here now, you can pick up your laptop and say, okay, BMW bulletproof vehicle, blah, blah, blah. Any dealer in the world. Send it, and in 5 minutes you get a pro forma invoice.
Can I ask you a question now?
Very well.
You are completely, I don't know, guilty before innocence.
How?
I don't think that's how things work.
That's not true. That's not what is happening here. That's not what is happening here.
What I want to find out is why are you still going on with this when the president has obviously set up a probe panel to investigate all of this, which is what other presidents have done in the past.
Anyway, let me tell you, that is not true. That is not true at all. There was no panel before all these ministers were fired. Instead, those presidents of Obasanjo and Yar'Adua refer these matters to anti-graft agencies. And that is my problem with the establishment of that, the announcement of that committee by Mr. President. It's against the laws of our land. That when, I start by asking, who gave the president the powers to appoint committees on a case where there's criminal, or in a case of economic and financial crime? To start with, the National Security Advisor of this country is an advisor to the president on security matters. There is no part of our laws that empowers the National Security Advisor to investigate economic and financial crimes. We have institutions that are empowered by an act of a parliament to investigate economic and financial crimes.
So would you have
the ICPC is there.
More comfortable
the ICPC is there.
If the EFCC was handling this case, is that what you're saying? If the EFCC was handling this case, would
my
you
brother,
be
we
more
are talking about what the law. There's a rule of law, which the president swore to uphold. So what we are saying in essence is that the appointment of an administrative panel. I want to know where did the president generate the power to do that in a case of financial and economic crime. When easily this matters, it happened during subsidy. He addressed this country and told Nigerians that these matters should be immediately investigated by the ICPC and the EFCC. And that is what is happening now. So why is this different? And to start with, why did the president not announce the suspension of the minister? Because his convention is a conventional, natural law anywhere in the world that you cannot be a judge in your own case. But the continued stay in office of the minister is going to impede on investigation. It's going to impede on investigation.
There's no, I don't know how you're talking about him being a judge in her own court. She's not a part of the panel. She's not investigating
this
herself.
Panel is going to generate
the NCAA, as far as we know, are the guilty party here. Who needs to be investigated?
I mean, how do you arrive at that? Who are we?
From the press conference,
who are we?
The press conferences have been very clear
that
from the DG of the NCAA.
I just told you now that the man who supervised the sale told Nigerians at the House of Representatives Investigative Forum that they got authorization from the minister. Went further, to also say that what they approved was 200 and something million, but the minister hijacked that to 600 and something million. So with this type of evidence, I do not know where you are drawing your inspiration or anointing from to say exonerating the minister from this saga. And we are in a country where we have laws. The National Assembly, the House of Reps came out to say these monies were not budgeted for. They even said that they brought actually a proposal for 200 and something million for the purchase of bulletproof cars, but they turned it down. They said all this.
So do you think all of this anger, which is probably valid on, I don't know, for whoever wants to be angry, is the way forward as against this pro-panel that Mr. President has set up now, which is probably a bright idea to investigate what has happened.
You sound like the senior advocate of the minister. But I want to tell you that what is happening here is that this country is ours. And as a taxpayer, I am entitled to question how my money is being sold. What we are saying is clear. There are a lot of government officials that have been fired, even before the pronouncement of investigation. For you to be the Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Stella Odua swore an oath on the day she took over office that she will not allow her personal interests to conflict with state and public interests. Here there is a law, a monetization policy of government that say they cannot even buy a Volkswagen for you. Because there's a policy. And these issues have been monetized. You went ahead to approve the purchase of a bulletproof vehicle for your use under a parastatal, in a parastatal under you. Already there's conflict of interest. Already there's abuse of office. And for a proper investigation to be conducted, you need to leave that office today. That administrative panel by the president, as illegal as it is, if they are going to carry out investigations, they will need to go to the ministry. They will need to call for records. They will need to call for files. Do you see any government official, any civil servant or bureaucrat giving those informations while the minister is sitting? Definitely, by her position and power, she is going to impede and interfere with investigation. So what we are saying is very simple. If it is a country where there is honor, where there is value, the minister ought to have resigned voluntarily to say she can come out and say, I am not guilty, but in the interest of fairness, transparency, and justice, I step aside for investigation to be conducted. That is what will happen in any civilized part of the world. And since she refused to do that, our president ought to have taken that step. The president must neglect his neighbor-to-neighbor relationship with the Minister of Aviation.
There's no need to go that far now.
No, they are close. And it's not a crime to be close with your minister.
There's a lot of people who, I mean, you have this knack now for being the activist. You speak up a lot. You speak your mind.
And it's not about her.
A lot of issues.
She's the ninth minister. She's the ninth minister the anti-corruption network will be taking on. So it's not about her. And it's not about her office. We have taken on 8 other ministers. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, my question is very simple now. Yeah. You have become very vocal and activist, which is a good thing. A lot of Nigerians need to speak up, and it's good that you speak up. But you were in government.
Very well.
And
I was not deaf and dumb when I was in government.
One thing that comes to mind now is there was a protest I held in Abuja about 2 or 3 weeks ago with the hashtag on social media, @OurNAS, against legislators' fees and allowances and all of that. How do you reconcile having that moral sort of burden of being a part of that, the highest paid, like they say, legislators in the world, and coming out today to speak against corruption? And even today, you haven't spoken up about this.
Anyway, I will start by saying that I've heard this argument most times from the point of ignorance. It's very myopic and porous because people don't investigate. I can boldly tell you as I'm sitting here no legislator, either in the Senate or in the House, moved anti-corruption